All right, everyone, the Prime Minister of India is actually coming out in support of proposals, legal proposals that are being made to construe an already, so it's not like they're trying to pass a new law, so that's not true. What they're attempting to do, Modi and his backers, is to say, according to the Civil Rights Charter of the UN, which India is a signee of, female circumcision is outlawed within this country. They're making the case to the court there, hey, it's already been outlawed, it's just we haven't been enforcing it because people claim like religious they claim it'll be against their religion, it'll be evil and blasphemous and rob them of their religious rights if we don't let them scarify people's genitals. I go further. I think male circumcision should also be banned in the infant sense. If someone's older and they want to have whatever done, they should be able to have whatever done. But, if you took your kid to the doctor, people say, well, there are medical benefits to circumcision. Well, yeah, I guess labia cancer is probably less common among girls that have had their labia removed. Yes, absolutely. That doesn't mean that it justifies the actual practice. Oh, we reduced cases of phimosis. Okay, well then why don't you circumcise them if it becomes a problem later in life? If it becomes a medical necessity instead of worrying about it in the meantime. Yeah, I'm sure I will have less cuts and bruises on my hands if I chop my hands off, but I would think, you understand where I'm getting at. But Modi, I think, is more sane than most world leaders. India is now a rising secondary power, rising up towards primary status. It's getting up to the point where it's going to be the main competitor of China. India is rapidly industrializing. This is both good and bad. I mean, for some people within India, it means that they're living in a heavily polluted slum. For other people, it means, hey, we've got a literate middle class now. India's economy is soaring. It's growing more quickly than China's. This is the sort of cultural advancement that's typically associated with those transitional stages in a country. The concept, hey, people have rights. Wow, who would have thought? And the UN is terrible at actually securing human rights. It's also terrible at actually doing something if they're violated by a signee. It's like, oh yeah, we execute people constantly. The UN will send a strongly worded letter. So this isn't, I think, primarily Modi's worried the UN's actually going to do butt fuck about it. This is Modi saying, hey, this is an opportunity to try to continue. What Modi's done is try to suppress outside groups that are within India that have practices that are incompatible with essentially his quasi-nationalistic mentality. Now, that includes people who are religious zealots. I think he'd have a problem with any group of religious zealots, honestly. But genital mutilation is definitely, I think most sane individuals understand, and it doesn't have to be a libertarian acknowledging this. As a libertarian, I say it's up to the individual to make that decision. Neither society nor a church has the right to do so. It's an individual rights issue of the child's rights, not the parents. That's not parental rights. I'm sorry, I don't think that parental rights extend to chopping off chunks of your body, causing permanent damage potentially if something goes wrong, even if it's less common than maybe a hardline activist would state. No, but even a sane person would say, well, this procedure may reduce or remove sexual function, is literally a symbol of oppression of the entire female gender. Maybe it's not a good idea. Now, there are other facets of certain religious groups that certainly lend themselves to the same criticism. It's basically a symbol of the dominance of males over females. In the most literal sense, you don't have to be like Radfem to understand that there are certain symbols of this within certain religions you're not allowed to criticize in polite company. I think you all know what I'm talking about, though. But Modi is a wise individual. He's one of my favorite world leaders, actually. Yeah, okay. Maybe a hardliner in some aspects. But the quasi-nationalism that he's adopted, I think, secures India's future. I'm not surprised he's popular. I'm really not. And also, you get problems with, communists within India, too. So you need someone who's a little bit stronger, maybe, to deal with that particular class of individual. But it's a good idea. It should go further. And I think he also proposed the death penalty for child rapists. Now, on such a topic, it's more difficult. Because as someone who doesn't believe in capital punishment, I'm like, yeah, but maybe I could make an exception. But I don't believe in capital punishment, and I'm afraid the state would then make more exceptions. That's what it boils down to. Maybe just to allow vigilantes. Okay, that would work. then it's not the state doing it. I hear all the time from liberals that if you privatize abuse, it suddenly becomes constitutional and okay. Maybe we should take up that mentality when we talk about communists and their connection to helicopters or something. Oh, state's not killing anybody. State didn't do anything wrong. Just let private individuals take care of it. Oh yeah, they ran over a whole bunch of protesters. Well, the state didn't do it. We might as well not have law and order at all at that point. I'm being tongue-in-cheek, obviously. I'm joking a bit. But Modi is doing, generally, by all accounts, a fairly good job in India. Now, managed one of the hallmarks of the first couple of years he was in there is really getting something done with Bangladesh. They had this weird border in between Bangladesh and India, and that little tiny corridor between the two of them, right next to, right between Bhutan and Nepal, there's this little corridor of land, and it was carved up like a puzzle, so that you would have a street, and one side was India, the other side was Bangladesh, or you would have like a little bit of Bangladesh going into India, like it'd be a single street into like a cul-de-sac, or a little chunk of India that's like, 5 fucking houses or an apartment building. And it just made no sense. And finally they managed to actually like straighten the border out to make it more sane, to make it not the most complex little tiny chunk of border in the world. Now I think it's probably the Serbia-Croatia border or something. Something Yugoslav in nature maybe. But yeah, it's better than it was before. India has systemic problems as a rising power. So, again, some people live in squalor within India. They have rivers that can literally catch a fire. But if China's capable of reforesting, 1,000 square miles of land a year or some crazy shit like that, China, that for decades and decades was like, well, we just want money, smog, that's okay, we don't care. All of a sudden, grew a conscience because they're like, oh, it's making us suffer on a world stage. We look dumb. Now, it's also making people die early. Well, you can't work as hard when you've got emphysema and we've got socialized medicine, so it's becoming a problem. India, which is leaning towards the West now, I expect any day they're going to say, oh, fuck BRICS. We're going to partner more with the United States now because we know what the future holds. Because BRICS has issues. South Africa and Brazil are, I think, are symbols of that. China's growth is slowing down, and India is a direct competitor of them in every aspect anyway. India, I think, will want to be the primary BRICS member, and when Russia and China say, no, you're the third wheel, they'll probably leave. To tell the truth, Trump, one thing Obama did well was sweetening the deal with India in the last year of his term. He sent Kerry over there, I think, twice. Trump has been very buddy-buddy with Modi, and Modi also is buddy-buddy with Netanyahu, which is very funny. That might disconcert people a little bit more, but I think he's done a good job, generally speaking. I mean, my feelings towards India are more positive now than a few years ago, as opposed to like my feelings towards maybe Germany or Sweden or the UK, where it's like basically, oh, that's a nation I would have liked to have visited 15 years ago before all of the problems arose that they have now. Now it's not worth the trouble. I'd rather go fucking visit Bombay or Calcutta or something at this point. Yeah, honestly, I'm not joking. I'd rather go to India than go to like the UK or France. I'd feel safer probably too. And that's about all. Peace out.